Hey everybody, and welcome to English 101 online at Three Rivers Community College in the spring 2019 semester. My name is Andrew Marvin, I will be your instructor, and this is what I look like. In this video, I'm going to go through the syllabus and the course outline, as well as take you on a tour of Blackboard and give you some general information about how things are going to work for the next 4 months or so. One thing that I want to mention right off the top of the video is that I'm teaching 2 sections of English 101 online this semester. That's section DL1 and section DL2. These 2 sections are exactly the same in terms of my syllabus and course outline and assignments and all of that stuff. So when I put documents up here on the screen, you might notice that it says a section that is different from the section that you are in, but have no fear, all of the instructions and all of the procedures will still apply. So I'm going to start with the syllabus here on the left. I encourage you guys to follow along with me, print out the syllabus, take notes, do whatever you have to do. And as always, I make many videos throughout the semester. I encourage you to rewatch, rewind, pause, take notes during those videos, which is one of the great advantages of online classes. So we will start here with the syllabus on the left. Again, my name is Andrew Marvin. This is a fully online class at Three Rivers Community College, English Composition. I do teach several other classes on campus during the normal academic year. So I have office hours on campus. Those office hours are Monday and Wednesday from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in C160, which is my office. So the class is completely online, but I am available on campus if you ever want to stop by and say hi, or if you're looking for some additional help or you just want to talk about anything in particular. You won't need my mailbox because we're going to submit everything digitally, but it is there in case you need to know where the mailroom is, and my email address is amarvin@threerivers.edu. The course description is boilerplate, which means that all sections of college composition at Three Rivers have this course description. I am going to read it to you just so you get a good sense of what the course is about. College composition engages students in critical observation, reading, and writing. This course prepares the student for the exposition, analysis, and argument required in college writing and for meeting the conventions of college English. Writing assignments require that students develop their own points of view and demonstrate understanding of complex texts, ideas, and issues. Methods for research, including use of the library, appropriate documentation, and incorporation of sources in original papers, will be taught during assigned readings. So all that is to say, what you need to know about English 101 is that it is a college-level academic writing course. So number one, it is not a sort of introduction to the English language course, right? It's not really about putting good sentences and paragraphs together, although that stuff is super important. We kind of assume that you have a basic understanding of how the English language works at this point. This course is really much more about participating in an academic conversation. It's about effective use of language, about rhetoric, about argumentation, about doing research, citing sources, and that sort of thing. So I talk more about this stuff in the Is This the Right Course for You video, which hopefully you've had a chance to take a look at by now. If not, I encourage you to make sure that you watch that video because it will give you a better understanding of what you're in for in English 101. We tend to think of 101 as being the easiest place to start, but again, this is college-level academic writing, which you may not have experienced before in other classes. So it's important to know what you're in for. The course should be challenging, but not impossible or frustrating. All right, so that is that. We have a new textbook this semester. It's called They Say, I Say, 4th edition. It's adorable, and we are going to be reading a considerable portion of this book during the semester. It's the first semester, like I said, that we're using this textbook, so I'm pretty excited. The way this textbook teaches writing is very similar to the way I think about writing and have taught it to my students up to this point. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys think of the new book. Likewise, because of that, my syllabus is new in many ways because of the new textbook. So if there are any typos, I apologize for those in advance. The learning outcomes are also boilerplate, so I'm not going to read all of these bullets to you, but if you take a look at this list, you should get a good understanding of what Three Rivers expects you to have a handle on by the end of the semester. And again, if you look at these bulleted lists, you will see that this is much more than just subjects, verbs, and that sort of thing. It's much more about argument, responding to rhetorical situations, using sources, and these sorts of topics. All right, let's talk about what you care about, which is your assignments. In this class, your grade will be determined by the following. The first is discussion boards. So this is an English class, and if we were on campus, we would do a lot of reading things and discussing of the things that we read. However, because this course is conducted online, discussion boards will serve as a surrogate for in-class discussion. You will be expected to respond to discussion boards with brief 250 to 300 word responses on Blackboard. You'll also be expected to respond directly and substantively, that's 100 to 150 words, to 2 of your classmates' posts. So each discussion board is going to involve you posting at least 3 times. You will post your own thread in the discussion forum, then you will read your classmates' posts, and you will respond to at least 2 other people, right? 2 different people. Obviously, you can post much more than that, but that's the minimum required for each discussion board. These are informal conversations, right? So you can use informal language such as personal pronouns, contractions, modest amounts of slang, and that sort of thing in your discussion board posts. But please remember that we want to maintain a professional, respectful atmosphere. It's very easy online to forget that there are real people on the other side of the screens. That's one reason why I make these videos. And you can say anything you like in this class as long as you don't hurt anybody and as long as you back up your claims. So just remember that your classmates are real people, as is your instructor. Discussion board posts must be submitted by each week's deadline and adhere to the word counts in order to receive credit. They cannot be made up. And we'll talk about late submissions a little bit later on. Rough drafts. For each major essay assignment, you will compose a rough draft and submit it on Blackboard. I will give you general feedback and suggestions for moving forward. I do not fix grammatical errors and typos, every grammatical error and typo on rough drafts. These are for high-level feedback. And it's up to you to implement my suggestions. So the purpose of the rough draft is for you to start writing your paper, show it to me so I can give you feedback and make sure that you are on the right track, and then encourage you to continue along the path that you are going, or give you some new things that you might want to think about, or help you course correct if we need to make some adjustments before we get too far along in the writing process. Further, because rough drafts are supposed to be rough, they are graded in an either you did it or you didn't capacity. So that is, if you do a rough draft and you submit it by the deadline, you will get credit for it. And you will get the point for it. If you don't do a rough draft or you don't submit it by the deadline, you will not get the point for it. Okay? So I don't care how good or not good your rough drafts are. All I care is that you do it and put a good effort into it so that I can get you started in the process of writing that essay. Better drafts and peer reviews. Following my review of your rough draft, that's your first draft, you will consider my feedback to revise and expand your paper into a new and improved better draft. That's the second draft, your second version of your paper. That is the version that will be shared with your classmates for peer review. So, to review already, you give me your rough draft, right? I give you general feedback, make sure you're on the right track and that sort of thing. Then you take my feedback, you continue to work on your paper, you improve your paper, hopefully finish it in the sense of get to the end of your paper. And that is the version that you will give to your classmates for feedback. Peer reviews have 2 parts. You're going to submit your own better draft for your peers to review, and then you're going to review the better drafts of your peers. Both of these components are worth points, okay? So these are not optional parts of the writing process. Writing, thinking, and learning are social acts, and so you are expected to participate in this process. Sharing our work with each other helps us to get a sense of what other people think of our ideas, and subsequently that helps us to refine and clarify and make those ideas stronger. Peer reviews strengthen your essays ahead of final draft submissions. Failure to participate in peer review, that is, to upload a better draft and or review others' drafts, will result in point loss and a weaker final draft. Okay, so this is our process for each of the major papers that we're going to write this semester. Rough draft between you and me, better draft between you and your classmates, and then final draft submission. Okay? Once you do this for the first paper, it will make total sense, and it'll be easy to do for the following papers. So speaking of those papers, what are these big essays that we're going to write? You're going to write 3 formal essays this semester. As we progress, the essays will increase in both length and complexity, and each will incorporate a number of sources and rhetorical techniques. That just means that each essay assignment is designed to teach you different skills, different writing skills. All papers in this class are formal, academic, argumentative, and analytical. What that means is that you've probably written other papers in other classes, which is great because it helped you get to this point. However, the papers that you wrote in other classes are probably unlike the papers that you're going to do now in this new course, new kinds of writing. So for example, you may have written a narrative paper in previous classes where you wrote a story about something that happened to you and what you learned from that experience, and that's great. That kind of writing can be very fulfilling and very valuable in teaching you how to come up with topics and how to organize a paper and all those various skills, which are super important. But in this class, we are writing formal, academic, analytical, argumentative papers, not personal reflections, not personal narratives or stories. And these are formal academic essays. And that's really what They Say, I Say is all about. It will teach you how to write in an academic way, which again, you may not have done up to this point, but we are here in a new course to learn new skills. All the papers that you write in this class will follow MLA style. I have a guide for how to do that in the course resources area, and I also have a video that will help you format your paper in MLA as well as construct your works cited page. Okay, so let's talk about these three papers. The first paper that you do is going to be called a close reading. This paper will be a rhetorical analysis of an article of your choice. I'm going to explain to you what that means later on. This analysis will comprise a brief summary of the source's main ideas, an explication of the author's audience and purpose, and an analytical argument about how the author uses language. Again, it's probably all new stuff to you, which is fine. I'm going to make another video later on when we get to it that explains exactly what you need to do in that paper. But just know for now that in your first essay, you are going to pick an article, a nonfiction article of your choice, and analyze it, right, on a language level. Next is the synthesis essay. Your second paper will be a synthesis essay wherein you find, invent, and demonstrate connections between two articles of your choice. You will use these connections to argue and support your own position about the topic or issue. So really, in the same way that the name of our textbook is They Say, I Say, and that kind of implies a connection between what other people say and what you say, in your second paper, you are going to write an essay where you explain connections between two different articles that you choose, two articles of your choice, and explain how those two articles' ideas interact, as well as what you think about how those ideas interact. Finally is the research project. So the last third or so, last 5 or 6 weeks of the semester is going to be dedicated to a formal academic research project on a topic of your choice. We're going to break down this research paper into 3 parts. Those 3 parts are the background report, the position paper, and an annotated bibliography. And we're going to work on these different things one at a time to hopefully make the process of doing a research paper a little bit less intimidating and a little bit more accessible. The background report is exactly what it sounds like. You are going to report on the background of your topic. That is a thorough explanation of your topic's history, the who, what, when, where, and why. And this is going to provide context and setup for the second part of your research paper, which is the position paper, where you offer an academic argument that presents your position and validates it through analysis, synthesis, and interpretation of evidence. Throughout this process of writing a research paper and doing research, you are going to compose an annotated bibliography, which is like a fancy works cited page, which is going to help you summarize and evaluate your sources and basically keep track of all your research. So that will be going on as you work on the background report and as you move into the position paper. At the end of the semester, you're going to put all 3 of these things together and give me one complete research paper, which will be very cool. Each of these assignments is worth a certain number of points as explained below. So this is how you will be graded in this class. Each assignment is worth a certain number of points, and there are 100 points total. The discussion boards are worth 3 points apiece. That is 1 point for your post, 1 point for each of your replies to 2 classmates. Okay, 3 points for 3 different posts. There are going to be 6 discussion boards throughout the semester, so that gives you a total of 18. I will give you a peek behind the curtain. There are actually 7 discussion boards, so that means one of 2 things. You can either not do one of the discussion boards and not be penalized because you'll still have access to the full 100 points. Or you can complete all 7 discussion boards, and that will give you one opportunity, the only opportunity, to earn extra credit in this class, an extra 3 points for an extra discussion board. Next is rough drafts, right? So again, this is the first part of our writing process for each major paper that we write. Again, because your rough draft can be as poor as it needs to be to help you figure out what your paper is about, these are only worth 1 point. Each major paper, close reading, synthesis, background report, and position paper, will have a rough draft, so that's 1 point each. Your better drafts and your peer reviews, okay, when you look at my feedback that I gave you on your rough draft and then revise and improve your paper and hopefully get to the end of the paper so that you can give it to your classmates for feedback, those are worth 3 points apiece. So the way this works is just like discussion boards. You post your rough draft, your better draft, that's a point, and then you do 2 peer reviews for 2 different classmates. Okay, and those are each worth a point as well. So that's 3 points each for each better draft and peer review process for each major paper. So that brings you up to a total of 12 points for better drafts and peer reviews. The final drafts for each assignment are as follows. The close reading is worth 12 points. The synthesis essay is worth 15. The background report in the research project is also worth 15. The position paper is worth 18, and your annotated bibliography is worth 6 points. Now, you may be asking yourself at this point, Mr. Marvin, how do you get a 14 out of 15 or a 9 out of 12 or these sorts of things? Great question. I have posted another video called How I Grade Your Essays. That video is in the reference videos folder in the course videos area. And the rubric that I use to grade your essays, content, style, and formatting, is available in the course resources area. So we'll take a look at that in a little while. At the end of the semester, all you have to do is add up the number of points that you have earned, and Grade Center will tell you this in Blackboard, and the number of points that you end up with determines where you land on Three Rivers grading scale, and that determines what letter grade I put into the computer. English 101 is kind of a gateway course for a lot of different disciplines in the sense that you need to pass this class before you can take other classes that you might be more interested in. So if all you are concerned about is getting out of this class alive, you want to get at least 73 points between now and the end of the semester. Obviously, I encourage you to do a lot better than that. But 73 points is what you need to pass the class. 72 points is a C-. Okay, which, depending on what course you're trying to get into or where you're trying to transfer, may not be enough for your academic goals. So I like this grading system a lot because it's very transparent. It's very easy to understand how well you're doing and how well you need to do on future assignments. Okay. I think it's frustrating to be doing a lot of work in a class and to have no idea what your grade really is. So at any point in the semester, you can look at how many points you have earned and compare that to the number of points possible that we've had. When you do this, you're going to have an instinct that will tell you to divide these numbers. So let's say we keep it really simple and we just look at your first essay. So the first essay is 12 points. Let's say you get a 10 out of 12 on that first paper. You're going to want to divide 10 out of 12, right? And that's going to give you 83%. And you're going to think, oh man, I thought a 10 out of 12 was a lot better than that. I only have a B. Maybe I'm not as good as the writer as I thought. Maybe I should be in a different class. No. Okay, don't worry about that. The way you want to think about your points in this class is not what the division is, but what the subtraction is. So if we have had 12 points, if we've completed 12 points worth of work, right, what you want to do instead of dividing those numbers is you want to subtract 12 divided by or minus 10 points, right, means that you missed 2 points, right, out of the number of points possible that we've had. And because the course is out of 100 points total, 100 minus 2 means that your new ceiling, your highest possible grade, is now a 98, which is an A and a super awesome grade. Of course, getting that 98 depends on you doing very well on all future assignments. So all this is to say, it's important to do well on all assignments from the beginning of the course. Between now and the end of the semester, you want to try to earn as many points as possible. So I hope that makes sense. Don't worry about what your points divide out to be. Worry about the number of points that you've earned, the number of points possible that we've had, as well as how many points remain in the semester. Because the longer we go, the more valuable the assignments will get, but there will be fewer opportunities to earn points because there will be fewer assignments as we get closer to the end of the course. So hopefully that makes sense. I'll explain that more in future videos once we have some points under our belt. All right, class policies. So participation. This is an online class, and online classes do not exist without active participants. So online classes, I think, are particularly great for certain students and certain instructors who really thrive in a kind of independent, self-disciplined kind of learning environment. And I hope that's you. I would strongly recommend that you log into the course every day to check announcements, messages, and the course questions forum, which we'll talk about in a little while. I know this sounds like a big pain, and once you get used to how the course works, you'll feel like you can just check it here and there, but I strongly encourage you to make it a habit of just logging in and just checking announcements, messages, and course questions every day. It only takes a couple minutes, and most times there won't be anything new. But if you get in this habit, you will make sure that you are always up to date and you always know what's going on. If you just kind of check out or space out for 3 or 4 or 5 days, you could miss important stuff. I can also see the last time that you logged in, just for the record. Strong participation is vital to the success of the class, so don't be afraid to ask a question, offer a comment, or disagree with each other. We must be open to discussing our own writing and the writing of others, including the authors we read and each other. You can say anything you like, again, in this class, as long as you don't hurt anybody with your words, and as long as you back up your claims. Be respectful, willing to share your ideas and have them challenged, and curious about new ways of thinking. So one of the great things about college is that it exposes you to other people that you never would have met in life if you had just stayed in your cozy little bubble, for lack of a better word. So we're going to discuss some perhaps controversial or sensitive issues in this class, and I require that you be respectful at all times, even if you encounter somebody online and you think, how can this person possibly believe this? That's fine, right? They have a right to believe whatever they want to believe, and we're just going to discuss the ideas and obviously not fall into the trap of thinking less of each other as people. Late assignments. All assignments are due via Blackboard by the assigned deadline. When we get to the course outline, you will see that all assignments have deadlines, dates, and times. So if you signed up for an online course thinking, oh, this is going to be great, I'll have 4 months to just do everything whenever I want, that's not exactly how it works. There is stuff due every week, including in the next couple of days, now that the class has begun. If you plan on being away from your computer when an assignment is due, you are responsible for getting your work to me ahead of time. All assignments have a deadline, and deadlines are, as a general rule, non-negotiable. Discussion boards, rough drafts, better drafts, and peer reviews must be submitted by the deadline to receive credit and cannot be made up. Formal essays will be penalized 1 point for each day they are late. Late is defined as after the deadline, and since our deadlines have dates and times, 1 minute late is still late, so be careful. So, a few things that I need to clarify here. Number one, this is an online class. An online class, by definition, transcends the boundaries of time and space. Okay, we do not go to the same building, the same classroom twice a week at the same time and look at each other face to face. You have the entire course and every reading assignment available to you at the beginning of the course, right, starting right now. The big essay assignments will not become available until we get closer to them, because I do want us to stay together and stay on track. But what I'm trying to point out to you here is you have complete control over when and how you get the work done, as long as it is submitted by the deadline. So, in a traditional class on campus, right, there might be mornings where you get in your car and it doesn't start and you can't get to class, and that's why you couldn't bring your paper to give to me. And I understand that. But this is an online class, right? So I assume that you are going to be responsible for managing your time and that you will have the work in by the deadlines. Now, that being said, I'm not a monster, right? If you are struggling, as you know, plenty of people are, if you are struggling, if you have things that are beyond your control that are really going to impact your ability to submit things on time, please get in touch with me privately as soon as possible. I will listen, and I will we will figure out what is the best way to move forward. But otherwise, I will expect you to stick to the deadlines and, again, to take responsibility for your performance in this class and when and how you get the work done. So, about the formal essays. Formal essays will be penalized 1 point for each day they are late. I used to have a zero tolerance late policy when it came to essays, but if I did that, several students would get zeros on the first paper, and if you get a 0 on the first paper, it's kind of hard to come back from that. So, I do minus 1 point per day. Now, we're an online class, and that means assignments are always going to be due at a specific minute in time. So, for example, the first day of class is Thursday. So let's just say you had an assignment due on a Thursday night at 11:59 p.m. That's the last minute before midnight, and it becomes Friday the next day. If you submit that assignment at 11:57, that's fine. It is on time. But if you submit it at 12:01 a.m., it is 2 minutes late, and 2 minutes late is still late. So that's minus 1 point because it's 1 day after the deadline. It's the next day. If you if the paper is due on Thursday night at 11:59 and you don't submit it until 3:00 p.m. on Friday, that paper is still 1 day late. So that means it's still only 1 point off. So what I'm trying to say here is that a day is 24 hours. So if you miss that 11:59 p.m. deadline, technically you have 24 hours to get that paper in and only lose 1 point. So sometimes you have to make a judgment call. Again, you have all of the deadlines in advance, and I will make assignments available to you in due time. Nevertheless, there are always some students who are submitting papers at 11:56, 11:57, 11:58, 11:59. I don't know why you would choose to live that way, but just be aware that the deadlines are in place to help us stay together and to help you and me manage our time. Okay, so again, do the work when and how you want, as long as it's in by the deadline. All right, course questions. So, one of the things about an online class that makes it more difficult than students often think is that it's 10 times more work to communicate with each other because all of our communication happens in writing in Blackboard. So in a on-campus class, when you are confused, all you have to do is raise your hand, right? And I call on you and I give you the answer and then we're done. And that takes seconds, right? Maybe minutes. Online, it takes a lot more time because if you are confused online, you have to A, recognize you're confused, B, log into Blackboard, C, type up a post in the course questions forum, D, make sure that post is written properly and that I can understand your question, E, post it, F, wait for me to respond, okay, G, read my response, make sure you understand it. You see where I'm going with this? So it takes a lot more work, and that goes for me in responding to your questions, and it goes for you in giving me your questions or asking your questions. So because of that, we're going to try to consolidate all of our questions about the course, about assignments, about academic writing, about English in the course questions forum. So if there's something about the course, an assignment, or a concept that you don't understand, please post a thread in the course questions forum. Doing so enables me to reply publicly so that everyone can benefit from your question and my answer. Do not be afraid to do this. Ensuring that you understand something is the first step to doing well, and chances are that other people are wondering the same thing as you. I encourage you to reply to one another if you know the answer to a classmate's question. One of my mantras or philosophies as a teacher is that it is my responsibility to make sure that you understand everything in this course that I'm asking you to do. But it is your responsibility to let me know when you do not understand something. So I log into the course every day, and I will check messages and I will check the course questions forum. If there are no messages and there are no questions for me in the course questions forum, I assume that everything is fine. So you have to take responsibility for asking questions. Don't be afraid to do that. Please use the course questions forum. That way we all benefit. Okay, contacting your professor. Please use proper written communication etiquette when corresponding with me and your classmates. Remember that questions pertaining to the course, assignments, anything like that, should be posted to the course questions forum for everybody's benefit, like we just talked about. Even questions about your own essay or writing process can help the entire class and lead to wider discussions, so don't be afraid to ask a question, right? Anything that you would raise your hand and ask in class should go in course questions. But if you do need to reach me privately, like something that you would talk to me about after class, not in front of everybody, like to discuss a grade, a health issue, or something like that, please use the messages tool in Blackboard. This is how I will contact you individually, only in an emergency, should you email me at amarvin@threerivers.edu. So we're going to try to keep our communication contained to the Blackboard course as best we can. I log into the course just about every day, and I will make every effort to respond to you within 24 hours. So there's a hierarchy of communication here. The first thing to do is to send me a message. If you have sent me a Blackboard message, have not heard back within 24 hours, and it's really important, then you can email me. I get school email on my phone, so I will see it relatively quickly unless I'm asleep or otherwise indisposed. But again, you should only have to do that rarely when you have something private to discuss with me. Okay? All right, moving on. Some words about technical support. This is a new section to my syllabus as of this year. I'm just going to read it. Don't fail a course because of computer trouble. Okay, this is an online class. I assume you know how to use the internet, how to use a computer, how to type up a paper, and how to upload a file. That's pretty much all you need. Nevertheless, here is TRCC's help page for students in distance learning courses. I encourage you to read this even if you don't expect to have any problems, because there's useful stuff in there. This is a fully online course, as you know, so you will be spending a lot of time on the computer and the internet. Now, everybody takes their first online course at some point, and this very well may be your first online course, and I understand that. So a certain learning curve is expected. That's okay. But nevertheless, there are some things that you simply must have to succeed in this class. So what I'm trying to say here, without being too snarky about it, is that if you don't know what a computer is, you probably should not have signed up for a class that takes place entirely on the computer. Okay? Again, you don't need any specific, real fancy technical knowledge, but you need to have a handle on the basics of computer and internet and document usage, so that you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. You can just worry about the work of the course, which is challenging enough without having to worry about, how a computer works and these sorts of things. So what do you have to know? Our learning management system, or LMS, is Blackboard, and that's where the entire course takes place. That means you have to be able to access and log into Blackboard. You'll probably do that through mycomnet.edu, which I'll show you how to do in a little while. That also means you must have a reliable internet connection and a computing device that you're comfortable using. I am starting to realize that some students take online classes on their phones or on their tablets, and that sounds wild to me. If it works for you, that's great, but I would strongly encourage you to have a computer if possible. But again, whatever works for you, as long as you get the work done. Next, this is a writing class. That means you need writing software. You can use whatever writing app you like. I know we love our Google Docs and we love our OpenOffice and we love all these different things. That's fine. But you have to submit your papers in the file format that I require. And pretty much every time that's going to be as a Microsoft Word document, okay, a .docx document, okay, not as a PDF, not as a Google Doc invite, not as an ODT file, whatever that is that I see all the time. So if you use Google Docs or something else, that's fine. You're welcome to do that, but you have to learn how to export your work from Google Docs to a Microsoft Word file so that you can get it to me. I'm not a huge fan of Microsoft Word, believe me. I'm a Mac user at heart, but I do use Microsoft Word to grade your paper using track changes. It's just the most efficient way for me to get that work graded and returned to you. So that's why I need it in Microsoft Word format. Again, you can write it in whatever app you want, but you have to format it and export it as a Word file. Now, because you are a Three Rivers student, you can get Microsoft Word on your computer for free. And there are instructions here on how to do that, as well as a short 2-minute video demo about how to do that. So, do with that information what you will. Now, there is always a chance that something in the course is missing or broken due to instructor error. Okay, that's me. However, I work tirelessly to prevent this from happening. Please let me know if I seem to have made a mistake, but again, I double, triple, quadruple check everything as much as possible to make sure that there is no, you don't have any difficulty. But if you think I made a mistake, please let me know. Post in course questions. I'll check it out. On the other hand, Blackboard is not very good. It's pretty buggy. It's not super intuitive to use, and it's not super great to look at, but it's what we have. So if you have an issue that seems like it's a technical issue with Blackboard, I can try to help you, but the most I'm probably going to be able to do, assuming it's not something that a mistake that I made on my end, the most I'm probably going to be able to do in terms of tech support is tell you to try a different browser. So try it in Safari or Chrome or Microsoft Edge or whatever they're using now, or Firefox. And if that doesn't work, I'm going to have to point you to IT. And the IT department's contact information, again, is here at the bottom of this page. Okay? So all this is to say, an online course has a lot of great advantages, right, for you and for me, but it also has this additional challenge of relying on technology. And you want to minimize any chances of that technology tripping you up as much as possible so that you can just focus on your work. Speaking of your work, make sure that you save it constantly. Again, it's a fully online class, so I assume that you can keep track of your data. Every semester, students message me and say that I was just about to hand in my paper and my computer completely crashed and I lost everything. It happens to all of us, even though we don't think it's ever going to happen to us. It's 2019, and you have to take responsibility for your data. There's just no excuse to lose all of your work in this day and age. So whether you're using Google Docs or something that syncs to the cloud, or Dropbox, or emailing things to yourself, or creating backup copies on thumb drives or flash drives or external hard drives, print things out if you have to so you can scan them to me if you need to. Whatever you do, just have backups for your backups. You really have to. Again, there's no excuse for losing your work at this point in the human experience. So save, save, save. I have a link to Dropbox here, which is a great free service that you can use. And if you use this link, you'll get a little bit of extra space, plenty of space for your documents. Dropbox and similar services sync your documents to all your devices as well as to the Dropbox.com website, so you can always access your work. Plagiarism. You guys know what plagiarism is, and very soon you're going to write a diagnostic essay for me explaining why plagiarism is bad. But nevertheless, if you use someone else's words or thoughts without crediting them, you are plagiarizing. If you do not document your sources, if you paraphrase without properly identifying the original author, if you copy, buy, borrow, steal, or otherwise obtain and use another person's work as if it were your own, you are plagiarizing. This is a serious offense because we are an institution of higher learning, and plagiarism means that you are stealing other people's ideas, and education is all about ideas. So, very soon, in the next few days, you're going to write a diagnostic essay for me, which is not going to be graded. It's just going to show me where your writing abilities are coming in. So if your writing abilities are here, and then you hand in an assignment to me, and all of a sudden your writing abilities are here, that's going to make me a little bit suspicious, and I'm going to copy and paste some of your sentences into Google. And of course, Google is going to tell me where the sentences came from very, very quickly. So if you plagiarize, I will catch you. What happens is you will get a 0 on the assignment, and I report your name to the academic dean so that the incident gets recorded in case you ever feel compelled to do this again. Plagiarism is theft. Do not do it. If you're not sure if you are properly attributing an idea to somebody or not, all you have to do is ask. That is what I am here for. Okay. All right, withdrawal. Students may officially withdraw from any class at the registrar's office, that's A115, and the contact information is there, up to 1 week before the last day of classes. For our purposes, that is May 10th, if I'm not mistaken. You don't need to inform your professor, but they can help you to decide whether withdrawal is the right choice for you. Withdrawing does not affect your GPA, but I will tell you that if you withdraw from a course, you will immediately stop learning anything from that class. And it can also hurt your financial aid if you do it too much, because financial aid will stop giving you money if you keep bailing on all of your classes. So make sure to check with financial aid or your academic advisor, who you can find in MyComNet, in Banner, before you make any decisions. If you see this video and you're like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need to do this. And you just stop participating in the class, as some students do every semester. That's fine. That's your choice as a student at Three Rivers. But keep in mind that you have to officially withdraw to avoid a failing grade. So if you just stop logging into the course, right, and then in May I go through my grade center and I see your name and the last time you logged in was January 25th, I'm going to grade you based on the work that you've done, and that will probably not be super good. So if you're going to not participate in the class, make sure you officially withdraw at the registrar's office before the deadline, 1 week before classes end. My ComNet alert. It is the spring semester, as you can tell by looking outside. But because we're an online class, we probably won't be affected by any snow days or anything like that. Nevertheless, you should be signed up for my ComNet alerts so that you can be made aware of weather closings or campus emergencies and things like that. Special considerations for students with disabilities. If you have any unique circumstances that may affect your ability to do the work in this class, I'm happy to accommodate you, but you do have to give me official paperwork from the A-Wing for me to give you those accommodations, whether it's extra time or anything of the sort. So our two counselors are here, Matt Liscombe and Elizabeth Wilcox. They have different specialities. So contact the person that applies to you, if one does, and get me that disabilities paperwork as soon as possible so that I can get you the assistance that you need. You can't do this at the end of the semester and expect to be able to go back and redo stuff. Academic integrity is the college's policy. It basically just means to act at all times with honor, cite your sources, do not steal, do not pay people to write your essays, and act honorable at all times. Don't be a jerk to one another. The Writing Center, newly renovated and relocated to C113, just down the hall from my office, is available to you even though we are an online class. So you are not alone. In addition to the feedback that I give you and the feedback that your classmates give you, the Writing Center is available. And even if you live in Hawaii or something, you can still email your papers to the Writing Center and they will get back to you, I think, within 48 business hours with additional feedback. So writing is a messy process. The more feedback you get, the better. So do not hesitate to use the Writing Center, even if you're doing well in the class. Okay? They really are there to help you. And as a community college, they are a cornerstone of our community. The library hours are here for your records. We will not be going there as a class, of course, because we are an online group, but it's there for your information, as is the computer lab. E112 is an open computer lab that's open for it has computers available to you as well as printers available to you as long as the building is open. And of course, there are also computer labs in the Writing Center and in the library. Printing policy is there for your records. The digication policy is something we will worry about at the end of the semester. And the last two things here, three things, are to know that, number one, I am a mandated court reporter, as are all of your Three Rivers instructors. That means that I have to share what you tell me with the Title IX coordinator or the Dean of Student Services. So we're going to talk about lots of different things in this class, and that's fine and great. But if you share anything online or with me privately that makes me think like you might be in trouble or in danger, I cannot keep that information a secret. I have to let the proper individuals know so that nothing bad happens to you. If you need help with anything, if you need protection or a safety issue or counseling services or legal help, the A-Wing is available to help connect you with people that can assist you with whatever difficulties you may be having. If you have housing difficulties, if you don't have anywhere to go, or if you don't have enough food to eat, the A-Wing can help you out with these things as well. Okay, so don't hesitate to get in touch as needed. The last two things here are simply the Board of Regents statements for sexual misconduct and reporting. And basically, these two statements simply mean that you have a right to not be sexually harassed on campus, in a classroom, in an online class, or anything of the sort. And if you experience or witness any such thing, you can contact Maria Krug, who is our new Title IX coordinator. Her office is in C131. Okay? So I have a feeling that this video is probably a little bit on the long side. So what I'm going to do is stop this video here, and I'm going to make a separate video where I go through the course outline and the Blackboard tour. Okay? So I will see you guys in part 2.